Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm continuing to work on my abandoned city island by building out an area where residents of the city have moved to in order to be together to support each other when the rest of the city has largely been left empty. For me, this build is about focusing on community when there are trying times, as it's the support of one another which keeps spirit and hope alive even when it looks like there may not be any left. This sort of build perfectly encapsulates that, and I'm really excited to share the build process with you all. With that, let's get into it. As I wanted to focus more on the community aspect of this space, I wanted something which still looked run down, but there was still a degree of life in, as there's something special about a group of people working together to make the best of a bad situation. Yes, this part of the city is brown and bleak, but I've tried to recreate that community atmosphere by adding communal areas in amongst the established buildings that were largely made from DIY items, or things the residents of this part of the island had grabbed from other areas of the city to make it feel more like a home for them. This included a communal cooking area with wild log benches and a fire pit, along with space to craft items and a community shower, which is where I added the Cosmos shower. Having these communal spaces, I believe, is where the heart and feeling of a group of people sharing a lived experience truly comes to life. I think about the times where we told stories and shared food on a bonfire night, or working with a group of people who are focused on delivering one objective, like helping people move into their first home. It's those community-driven stories and narratives that I wanted to bring in to add depth to this part of the city, despite the residents here living in one of the most run-down and deprived areas. Continuing on the idea of having a story for each of the villagers on this island, Tiffany is the villager of choice for me here. Her story is that she once lived in a nice part of the city before the downfall, but as she had built a home for herself and had a good job, she was reluctant to leave during the downfall when others were choosing to leave. As a result, she remained in her home and watched as others moved into tents around her to stay together in one of the few areas which still had access to water. She is now trying to make a living as best she can by picking up odd jobs so that she can maintain her pride and joy, her home. But she also recognises that the world she lives in is very different to the one she knew before. She likes to support the community around her, but is aware of the difference between her and the community. She has her own home and is determined to keep it, particularly as she has the reminder every day of what those around her have lost. Looking at her home's exterior, it doesn't necessarily fit with the vibes I've created in this area, but I will probably make minor changes to this at some point before I release the dream address. To be honest, I'm really enjoying building lore and story into this island, as it helps keep my mind on what my theme is and helps me pick items that can fit back to the story I'm trying to tell. Let me know in the comments below what you think of islands that have lore, as I'm curious if storytelling is something you enjoy when watching creators put islands together. I mentioned earlier that the residents coming to this area did so because it's one of the few areas left in the city that has access to water from the small waterfalls that exist here. It also has good links to the beach. Although I haven't decided how to decorate these just yet, I can see these being the spaces that the residents of this part of the city would use as a way for calling for help, which will add further to the story and the lore of this part of the island. At the moment, like a lot of players, I'm using my beaches to store flowers and buildings for later builds, so the continuation of the story will be looked at once I have cleared some space for me to work on this area. The one good thing I have done as part of the build today, which will help me when it comes to decorating the beaches later, is planning where my entrances into this section of the island are. It will definitely help if I know how people are going to navigate around this island if they come across a dream address and want to explore the history of the residents who live in this part of the island. Whilst this area does look deprived of all life, I love that we have some items in the game that have a rusted look to them. It fits in perfectly with the vibes I wanted and allows me to create an industrial look and feel to this part of the island. I've used some jail bars and fences to make this area feel like it's more segmented out and almost protected this group of residents from the rest of the island. This community is very insular and wants to preserve the strength and hope they have that things will be better one day. I've also added to their DIY look with things like the oil barrel bathtub and the rusted minicar, which I've included as a means of adding to the story of how the community builds things and uses items for spare parts so they can build what they need to keep things running smoothly for their community. And that is the finished build. I'm really enjoying exploring the abandoned city theme in more detail, and having a lore behind each villager I end up inviting only adds to the vibes of the island as I complete it. If you would like to see more from me as I build out the island, tapping the subscribe button helps you to stay in the loop when I next post. And if you want to see another video from me, you can check out the mood board style builds I've made for this island here, and I will see you over there. Take care, everyone.